Hi, this is Emily filming for Project 3 in technical writing with Mrs. B. So what we're going to go over today is how to make jiaozi, which is Chinese for dumplings. First safety tip, like I hate getting hair in my food, so I just put up my hair like this. And okay, so this is going to be pretty labor intensive, so recommendation is that you have friends or family over to work on it with you, and that way you can all celebrate and enjoy the end together. Traditionally, Chinese people do this only when there's other family around, so that we can all do it together and make it kind of a social event. You'll see that most of the steps filmed are done by myself, but I'm actually having a lot of background help from my mom. And my daughter a little bit. She's there for moral support. So yeah, basically, yeah, it's a social thing, and traditionally it is, culturally it is. So definitely make it a social thing if you can at all. Otherwise, have some snacks available because you're in it for the long haul. When you make this, this is not a fast food type of meal. So here we go. Okay, I took a break to get my hands washed, so we're good on that. And we're gonna go over the ingredients now. So this is organic baby kale. Normally that's not really like a traditional vegetable, but it's fine. We got it from Costco, and yeah, no, Sprouts actually. And then this is about a pound of boneless ground pork. It was originally unground, and we got this from Costco as well. Not Costco as well, but from Costco. Basically, we ground it ourselves in a meat grinder. And the reason why we got boneless unground pork at first is because we wanted to get like the best quality pork. But you can just buy ground pork if you want. That's fine too. So we have, this is called scalene green onion, and that's one of the other vegetables that we're going to be using. Oops, ginger. These were also from Sprouts. Although I think we also got some from the ginger from the Asian Pacific supermarket here in Colorado Springs. It's like on Wooten Road. Are we using eggs? There's okay, no eggs. There's King's dark soy sauce, or just any soy sauce. And then like a more traditional dip is just like vinegar. I prefer vinegar, but yeah, most people prefer soy sauce, but yeah, just saying vinegar is an option too. And then as for the wraps, we're using organic all-purpose unbleached flour. That was from Costco. So those are all the ingredients, and they're really easy to procure. I'll just list them again one more time. Costco's boneless pork, 1 pound. Baby kale from Sprouts. And then from Asian Pacific Market or Sprouts, it doesn't really matter. You can get ginger, green scalene onion, soy sauce, and then from Costco, organic unbleached all-purpose flour, and also a little bit of salt and vegetable oil. So after you get all the ingredients together, it's you can thaw the pork 24 hours in advance in the refrigerator. We put it on a thawed sheet, so that way it's like a lot easier to separate later. And then if you grind it, just a safety tip, to sanitize the meat grinder before and after use, of course, and to watch your fingers. And we buy the unground pork and grind it ourselves, but you're welcome to just buy ground pork as well. So once the meat is thawed, the next step is to prepare the dough. And so here we go with the flour. 1, 2 cups of flour, and about 1 part water. So 2 parts flour, about 1 part water. And you're going to knead it. I'll let you see what I'm doing. Basically, the point is to just like get a really good dough-like consistency, not too floury, not too watery. And from this, we can make our dumpling wrappers. And it's not like you have to be perfect. If you're adding too much flour, you can add some more water. If you add too much water, you can add some more flour. So. So, and then another thing people usually get a little stuck on is like dough sticking to the sides of the bowl. And what you can do for that is just kind of like rub this around the bowl, and your dough can actually like pick up your dough for you, so that way it's all together. After I'm done making it all like a nice even consistency, that's what you call completing the step called 和面, which is making the dough. And so here it is. And I just put it in a little bowl, and then I put a wet washcloth on top of it, a damp washcloth, just like mildly damp. And it basically helps keep it from getting too dry. And I just let it sit for a while. That's called waking the dough up. And here's it with a damp washcloth. Okay, so the way this is going to differ a little bit from like a traditional recipe is that Chinese people don't really like measure things super like exactly. But I will show you a visual. I mean, it's just kind of like in the culture that we don't measure things. So, but I will show you like a visual about how much I put in, so you can estimate yourself based on what you have at home. So, what I'm going to be doing now is combining all the ingredients in the big bowl. Here's the meat, the pork, onion, and then these are the chopped green onions. There's quite a lot, so. And like I said, this was to 1 pound of pork, so. Chopped ginger. This is definitely a smaller bowl, so compared to this bowl, it's definitely smaller. So. Okay, take my chopsticks, stir it up. I stirred this for a long time. I didn't really film it, but essentially you have to stir it in like at least like, for me, I went like 8 minutes maybe, and then I got like kind of a little pasty consistency like this. That kind of makes all of the flavors mixed together, and it's a lot better that way. And next I'm gonna add kale. Like I said, kale's kind of like an experimental thing this time. Normally we use cabbage. So yeah, I got some chopped kale. It's very finely chopped. Okay, just like the green onion was. okay, and the ginger was chopped really. So okay, I'm gonna add that. And half a teaspoon of salt. Okay. All right, and I'm gonna mix that again, really hard for a long time. Okay, so after a while of work, I made, see, pretty like consistent, even there. And like now we're gonna move on to making the dough wrappers. And I would recommend saving the meat mixture in the fridge so that way the meat doesn't go bad. And if you don't have time to make the dough wrappers, you can buy these wrappers. They were at the Asian Pacific supermarket off Wooten Road here in Colorado Springs, but you can find it at any Asian supermarket. They're basically pre-made wrappers, like in a stack here. But we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way and make the dough ourselves today. And if it turns out that like you made too much of meat and you don't have enough dough, you can freeze the meat for like maybe a day and then go out and get dough or flour and mix it later. So go, we're gonna do the dough. So first we're gonna take a little bit of flour and just kind of like spread it on. Okay. The dough. It's been sitting here for a while. Oh. My apple. And we're basically gonna make it into like one really long noodle first. Okay. I'm not gonna use the rolling pin until later, but have a rolling pin. Basically, like after we make it long, we're gonna section it, like make little section cuts. Having like one long thing makes it easier to see how much you're getting. And then with those little sections, each one is going to become a dough wrapper. So, yeah. And the little bit of flour on there is just so it doesn't get like all sticky on the cutting board. I'm gonna cut it in the middle because it's getting really long and like slightly unmanageable. And half of it's gonna go with a little bit of flour on the bottom into this bowl here with a little flour on the bottom in there. And I'm gonna cover it with the damp washcloth again, okay? And then now I'm just gonna work with this section here to make it even skinnier and longer. So as you see, I'm rolling it, but as I'm rolling it, my fingers are spreading out to make it longer and longer. All right, so I've got a really long snake here. We're going to cut it like this, and then you turn it like a quarter turn. So I cut it here, right? And then I turn it a quarter turn, then I cut it again. Okay, see how like little it is? That's going to make one dough wrapper. Then I turn it a quarter turn, cut it again. If your snake is like really fat, then of course you're going to make like smaller cuts. I mean like shorter cuts. And if your snake is really thin, you're going to make slightly longer cuts. But it's all very small. See, like it's like a little, you know, so because it's all, each one's going to flatten out into a dough wrapper. See, quarter turn, cut, quarter turn, cut. Okay. So now we've got all these little sections. We're going to take one and put it in this nice little dough thing, right? And then we're going to flatten it with our hands. Okay. See how it's getting closer to that shape that we wanted at the end? I'm taking like the freshly cut ends. I'm putting a little bit of flour on it. Then I'm squishing it right on the end on an end that was cut. So that way it turns into a nice little circle, right? It's not quite a wrapper yet, but when I make it into a wrapper, it's a lot easier to start from a circle than it is from like some other shape. So me and my tiny assistant here are both rolling. Okay. So basically you take one of these things that you squished, and you roll while holding it, see? And then you turn it a little bit, then you roll it again while holding it. You keep going around. Roll, turn, roll, turn, roll, turn. See it? Now you can see why it's easier to start with something that's almost like a circle, okay? Because then it forms more of a circle at the end. Roll, turn, roll, turn. And sometimes it gets a little bit lumpy in the middle, but that's okay. It's more important for it to be thin on the edges, okay? Roll, turn, roll, turn, roll, turn, roll, turn, roll, turn, roll, turn. Okay? Okay, see how nice that is? And you keep doing that with every one. I'll make a little stack here, okay, as I go. Yeah, roll, turn, roll, turn. Roll, turn, roll, turn. Roll, turn, roll, turn. I use this. Roll out the dough.
Roll with this.
Roll with this.
Roll with
Just roll with this.
this. You bubbles with
Just roll balls with this. Roll, rolly. Hi, Dad. 你吃饭了吗？
吃饭，我刚才吃了3个。
等会儿你去遛狗吧。
你们怎么样？你们这个和馅儿需要我帮忙？
对呀，和馅儿没你帮忙，我就那个肉吧，就放了好多葱，然后放的姜，然后放油，酱油和好了以后，放了一点那个，我想那个白菜太麻烦了，我就放了一个那个什么东西，放了一些那个baby kale。 We'll see. It's like a 荠菜，你这个既然那个是用荠菜饺子吧 I think it's gonna be a little bit like， 放了一点点，不多。
你说念什么？以为是念是别人的。
Yes, there's nothing in the hurry. It's just that if you do. Turn, 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 turn. Turn, roll, turn, roll, turn, roll, turn, roll. Okay. Turn, roll. Turn, roll. Turn, roll, turn, roll. Well, 先弄点吃点尝尝啊，完事儿再说。这主要是麦克老早就到了，给我 text 了。
Okay, we're almost at the end. We're going to cover folding technique for the dumplings. So over here I have a little flour lined pan where I'm starting to like line up the dumplings, and I'm just going to like start lining up here as I go. Okay, that's where I keep them before I boil them in order to just have them all together. I'm going to show you 3 different folding techniques. One is very beginner. It's good for if you're just starting out. The second and third are from different sides of my family, one grandparent's side and the other grandparent's side. So here, let's start with the beginner one. Okay. I just put a little bit. Okay. I use either a little spoon or kweizhi, which is chopsticks, kweizhi, and I put a tiny little bit amount, okay, and it's in the middle, in the center of it, okay, keep it all together, okay, and I don't want any like reaching the edges, because after I fold it, any food left on the edges can kind of make it pop open while boiling, and I don't want it to pop open, of course. And another thing is I'm using fresh, flour, like dough that we made ourselves today, and we don't need to line it with water because the dough is already moist enough as it is, since it's freshly made. If you're using pre-made wrappers like the ones I mentioned earlier that are store-bought, you need a little bit of water, okay, like this, and you just like dip your finger in it and cover the edges, okay, with just a light bit of water. That helps it close together. But since our dough is fresh, we do not need that. It's already moist enough as it is. So we're going to pinch it in the middle. This is a beginner's technique again. If it doesn't really close, see, it's like kind of not really doing it for me, I pinch it like this, okay, like that, and that kind of rolls it together and like forces it to stick, okay. So see, I've pinched together the midpoint. Now I kind of push out any air pockets. We want air pockets out, like large air pockets out, so it doesn't pop open while boiling again. If it's like a little air, no worries, but just like push out the large air pockets, and then holding like this, squish, okay? Just kind of squish it together, okay? And once again, if it doesn't work, use that technique I mentioned earlier. You might appreciate a little repetition on the folding techniques, especially the second and third one. But I'll show you the first one again as well. So first one, pinch it in the middle, then crease, okay?
No.
Second folding technique. That's a little weird. See, I took a little too much, I feel like. So I'm going to take a little bit out. Okay, there we go. Pinch it in the middle. Okay. And now I'm going to make it fold upwards, okay, like the flower one. And then I'm going to pinch it. Okay. Yeah, I'll crease it again. Okay, see, it stands up. Okay. Third one. Make it all nice centered. That way it doesn't get out in the edges. Fold it in the, get away. Fold it in the center. Okay, now pinch it on the edge, really far out from the midpoint. And then fold it in, fold it in, fold it in, fold it in, and keep folding it in. Okay. On the other side, I'll show you again. Take it, this is the center, but I'm going to go out from it, leaving that extra length on the one side. Fold it in, fold it, yeah, fold it in, fold it in. There you go. See how it kind of curves out? Not my favorite example, but it works. And it sits like a little chair. Okay. All right. And one more demonstration of the third folding technique that stands up like a little chair. Okay. Fold midpoint to midpoint. See the lovely equal lengths? Instead of folding it here in the middle, I'm folding it out here, leaving that extra length on one side. Now fold it up, fold it up, fold it up. Okay, fold that extra length up into it. So that way it curves around. So here we go. Pinch it on the side. Fold it up, fold that extra length up, 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 up. Crease, 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 crease. Okay. There you go. Oh, pretty. Perform better when I'm not being filmed, but I just wanted to show you like the little creases on the back. You can like make them kind of like a nice little pattern here. Okay, so cute. All right, see? Okay. And as you can see, there's like a lot. Yeah. Over here are more of like the ones that the third technique. Over here is like mostly the second technique, and over here is the first technique. So yeah, we're about to boil them. Got my boiling water ready. I just recommend like a nice big pot of plain old water. And once it's like really bubbling, you can add it in. All right. Here we go. And once you have it in, stir it a little bit, okay? That way they don't stick together. Sticking together is another way to get it to like fall apart while boiling. So we make sure they don't stick together. Just gently stir lightly. Okay. Give it a nice little stir. So yeah, once it's bubbling really well, give it a nice stir here. So here I am waiting, and I'm gonna let it sit for like 5 to 10 more minutes, like I said, and see, it's like I can see there that it is bubbling a little bit. But it's not like overflowing with bubbles and spilling out, and that's where I want to be for like the next 5 to 10 minutes covered. Okay. Yeah. This is when it's ready. As you can see, they're really big and fat. They're all vying for attention, and that's when we turn it off. Okay. I'm gonna scoop it out. Put it here. Onto a plate. Put it close here so it doesn't trouble. Yeah, she's 2.5. So exactly. All right. Oh yeah. This is what we worked for all morning. And like a little bit of the early afternoon. Like we started this at like 9 a.m. I think. And now it's 1:39 p.m. Definitely a family task, in my opinion, and like culturally, but you can do it on your own. If you get tired and want to save some of the jiaozi before you boil it, you can actually freeze it for another day. Freeze those jiaozi right after you fold them for another day. So just like put them in a plastic bag. Make sure there's enough flour that they're not sticking all together. Like a little bit of mild dusting of flour, and then like freeze them. Then you can take them out, boil them whenever you want them. Like they'll stay in the freezer for like maybe 2 weeks even. And then let's see what else. So this is the fresh one, and it's gonna be so good. And then with like a little dish of vinegar on the side, or soy sauce if you like that. So normally, traditionally, we actually drink this water. Because sometimes, even just like best efforts, some of the jiaozi and like breaks open, or like a little bit of like the meat flavor comes out. And so this tastes really good, and it's like a really like mild light broth with like a little bit of flour in it, and it's just yummy. So yeah, we drink that too. And then what else? Oh, for leftovers, these you can freeze them for like, oh no, put them in the refrigerator after they're boiled for about like 1 or 2 days. They're still like microwavable, and you can also, if you don't like the texture of like it after 1 or 2 days, you can pan fry it and make it like nice and fried. So you just put a little bit of oil in a frying pan like this, and a little bit of soy sauce, and you can fry these little guys for like a day or two. If they're left over. So yeah, those are a lot of ways to eat it. And yeah, I'm really hungry, so let's go for it. I already started eating, but I just had to come back and just say the kale worked great. Okay, it was actually really good. Yeah, it's amazing. So enjoy. I just had a meal. It was so good. And looking back, would I have done anything differently? Actually, yeah, I would have probably I don't know if you noticed, but I like rolled all of the little dough chunks flat, and then I like added the mixture inside. What I would have done differently is I would have rolled one flat, then added dough mixture right away, then rolled one flat, added dough mixture right away, instead of rolling them all flat and then adding the dough mixture. That would have prevented that from getting as dry, so that way it was more manageable like throughout the whole process. Um, and then another thing I would have done is added more vegetables, more oil, and a little more salt, actually, because my dad actually has a good taste for these things, and he like flavor tested it, and we ended up adding more vegetables, so more of the kale. So yeah, that's what we would have done differently. But it was amazing, and the cool thing about it is if you have mixture left over, you can just kind of add more as you go of like things, and just kind of like mix and match to your flavor. Other meats that you can use are shrimp, I think chicken and beef, although like traditionally it's more like pork is like the biggest. Um, and you can use other vegetables as well. Like I said, we traditionally use cabbage. So yeah, so that's how to make dumplings. Feel free to comment if you have any questions, and thank you for watching. Bye.